All right, nurseann.com podcast. You're at episode 11, which is going to be chapter 11, which is called Date Number 2. And that is from The Mental Files. And that's from book 1, Sheep Among Wolves. This is a 6-book series, and you can get the complete series in one book, The Mental Files First 6 Stories Edition. That's at Amazon on Kindle and paperback, and it's also showing up at a lot of other places. So let's jump into chapter 11, date number 2. Then we're going to break it apart as it relates to our own life drama. Get some biblical prescriptions for some wisdom and inspiration. And also talk some more about the different issues from the files of nurseann.com. Chapter 11, date number 2. Once again, that's from The Mental Files by Nurse Ann, and this is from book 1. Feeling nervous and unsure of herself, Lita drove to the bar and wondered if her outfit was modern enough. Would she fit into this environment in which she had not been to since she was much younger? I hope I don't look too old-fashioned, worried the usual homebody. Oh well, here goes, she said to herself as she entered the crowded venue. With the loud television blaring on one end and speakers pumping music on the other, the incessant stimuli was more than the shy caseworker was used to. Her usual routine these days was a quiet chair and her latest novel. I wonder if I made a mistake coming here, she thought. Before her thoughts attempted to take over with doubts, the handsome officer met her with a hug and walked her to their table. While Lita filled in Leon about her day, the waitress came to the table to get their drink order. I'll just have a cranberry juice, said the introverted caseworker. I'll have a beer on tap, answered the officer. Hey girl, lighten up. You could have one drink. We're out with adults tonight, he chided. Feeling uncomfortable from the joke, she tried to push the thought out of her mind that maybe this might not be her Prince Charming after all. Maybe I don't fit in with this crowd, she worried. Sensing her reluctance, the smooth-talking policeman flooded her with compliments. Taken off guard by the gushing officer, Lita pushed her concerns aside. He's so handsome, and I like his work ethic, she rationalized to her confused brain. Hey, who is this beautiful lady? Asked his police partner as he made his way over to their table. She's just the hottest caseworker in town. Hands off, buddy, hands off, replied Lita's protective date. Yeah, I hear you, Leon. Hey, at least let me buy you two another round, offered Officer Leon's partner. What will you have, pretty lady? Asked Officer Perez. Just order her one of those girly daiquiris, spoke up her date. As the caseworker started to protest the unwelcome beverage, the guy's laughter about a joke Martin Perez was telling drowned her concern among all the other noise at the crowded sports bar. Sipping very slowly on her umbrella drink, Lita tried to just fit in with this new, hip crowd. Yep, that's the end of chapter 11. And before we jump into chapter 12, which is called Back on the Ward, we're going to break apart chapter 11 as it relates to our own life, drama, and thought battles. So, Lita was back in the dating game, hadn't been out in a long time in that manner. not really comfortable in that situation, but kind of soaking up the attention. Her mind, her brain is a little confused right now about what to do. She's having some red flags in her conscience, but the officer, he kind of smooths that over with all the compliments and the attention. So that makes us think about our own life. Sometimes we jump through hoops for relationships to try to impress others, maybe to try to fit in, to try to find something that we think we need or that we're looking for. And sometimes we go past the limits of what is best for our life, current and future, for our own selves and those around us. And I'm sure we all have, unfortunately, an endless amount of stories. We could fill up our own database with stories of trying to fit in or ignoring red flags that later led to something that we didn't really want to begin with. And we're going to jump into the files of nurseann.com, and we're going to go to the Word Puzzles devotional and see which word puzzles devotional for the day kind of matches up a little bit with this concept and this story. And once again, the Mental Files by Nurse Ann is available. You can get the complete series in Book 10, which is the Mental Files First 6 Stories edition. And we're going to spin the wheel to see which word puzzle we're going to land on and jump into that. All right, so the Word Puzzles devotional, which is also by Nurse Ann, that's me, is Wisdom and Biblical Prescriptions from the Ultimate Wordsmith. And in this book, it's interesting words linked to everyday life and, once again, inner thought struggles, along with relevant biblical prescriptions. And you can get your dose of wisdom and inspiration to help us overcome and thrive. And there's hope and new light for your life journey in this devotional, medicine for your soul. So today's word we're going to jump into is from the letter P, and it is popularity. And I don't think that this one needs the definition spelled out. So what have we done and then regretted in order to gain acceptance and approval from others? Maybe spent more than we can afford on clothes and or a car, gave away too much of ourselves, used flattery or manipulation, lied, gossiped. Fill in your own blanks. If only I had known, and we had known this amazing concept before we jumped through hoops. True favor is bestowed. Integrity, honesty, and kindness are just some of the traits that we display when we are walking in the will and favor of God. And finally, we can let go of endlessly striving to fit in, working overtime for approval. Check out these amazing promises. In Psalm 5:12, we're told that you, O Lord, will bless the righteous with favor and will encompass us as with a shield. And remember also that Daniel obeyed God even in the face of danger, and the king noticed and held him in high esteem. And also Joseph maintained his integrity in spite of accusations and suffering. He was promoted and helped save nations. And another inspirational person was Esther. She humbled herself before the king in spite of danger. She was able to help save her people from being wiped out. And one more example is Ruth. She lived an honorable existence in order to help someone and was given grace and blessed. What are some examples in your own life? So instead of arduous labor to please others through material goods or excessive maneuvers, we can learn to walk in the ways of and stay close to our Savior. Then relax and enjoy the fruit. And Proverbs 16:7 reminds us, when a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. And so that's from the Word Puzzles devotional written by Nurse Ann. That's me. And on my website, nurseann.com, you have access to the Mental Files and the Word Puzzles devotional, and also the devotional Energize Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit. So I hope that you can remember these blessings when we strive to walk with the Lord and to please Him. He's going to make others at peace with us. And of course, not everyone's going to like what you do, but we can strive to walk in peace and not have to jump through all those hoops to try to fill up a void that we think we have or impress others. And that's from today's chapter, where Lita went on her second date with the handsome and charming officer. The next time we'll jump into chapter 12, where they're back on the mental health ward, and see what's going on with Nurse Angela and her patient Julie, and see if things are going to be peaceful or chaotic on the unit. And speaking of nurseand.com, there's also a great relationships prescriptions tab. And I believe I talked about this on another podcast, but it's really great. On that tab, there is a complete series by Andy Stanley called Love, Sex, and Dating. You can find that online, but also I just left it on my website so you can watch the whole series in order. And honestly, that is probably the best 4-part series I've ever seen on relationships and dating, especially Christian dating, but it's good for anyone. It just reminds you when you're setting out to have relationships with others and or dating, no matter your age, just some really important things to look out for. And he really comes at you in a caring attitude to help you learn these things that maybe you didn't know or maybe you forgot, so that you can be happy about the relationship that you end up with. And I know the first part is the right person myth, where he talks about sometimes we think if we just find the right person, everything will fall into place and our life will be perfect. And he explains the fallacy of that and what we can really work on ourselves in our relationship with God. And then the second part is the Gentleman's Club, kind of talking about the prevalent way of thinking in society and culture, and how it doesn't always align with God's principles and the best way for our lives and our dating and our relationships. And then the third part is Designer Sex, just talking about God's views on dating and relationships and the importance of waiting and how it's really going to bless our life. God's not trying to steal our fun. He just knows the pitfalls and the dangers ahead and wants to protect us to have a better life. And then he wraps it up. If I were you, him and his wife go over a checklist, especially if you're dating with the maybe wanting to get married one day, have a long-term relationships. Just a wonderful checklist of things to think about and plan on. So check that out. It's on nurseand.com on the Relationship RX tab, or you can just find it online. Love, Sex, and Dating by Andy Stanley. It is so good. And there's some other relationship book recommendations and videos there on that tab. So I will see you on the next podcast for the next chapter and more inner thought, drama and struggles, and biblical prescriptions. And that's pretty much it for today. You have a great day.